Okay, this is a quick video about the problem that I'm having with PstRotator and my new Icom 9100 in trying to operate the satellites with it. I think we have a problem with the setup file for the OmniRigIni file. I've looked at it. I am definitely not smart enough to know how to modify that INI file the way it's currently set up, but let me show you what the problem is. If you go over here, you can see we are trying to listen to AO85 right now. And let me see if I can change the exposure. There we go. And you can see it's updating here fine. But note that the way it loads is that the receiver is 435 megahertz instead of 145 megahertz. It has it backwards. It's showing FM, which is right, but there's another problem with that I'll show on the linear birds in a minute. So let's go over here now to the rig, and you can see that the top band here is where the receive frequency is supposed to be, and the subbands where the transmit frequency is supposed to be, and it's backwards, and that's the problem. So right now we're listening to the subband, as this is an active pass right now on AO85, and the Kepler's or the Doppler is being adjusted properly, and that's great. So okay, we need to switch it, so we go over here and we switch the two so that now we're listening in the receive in the main VFO up here, and the transmit is now down in the subband where it's supposed to be. The problem is that if you notice, there's now no updates for the Keplers whatsoever. So the workaround that I've been doing is switching back and forth until the Keplers update, Doppler updates, I'm sorry, I keep misspeaking, and then switch it back over properly and listen here. So that's the problem. It's loading the subband and the main VFO backwards, and that's what's causing the problem here. And I thought if I showed that, it might be a little bit clearer as to what's happening. So let's see. The other thing I want to show you is back over here. We're going to switch to like cast 4B and watch what happens. Okay, that shows properly. The receive is 145.9, transmits 435.2. Exactly right. We're again showing R1, T1, as we've discussed, is the right way to do it with the 9100. But now we go over here again, and we look here, and the transmit receive is backwards because we had it flipped before. We flip it back normally, and again we now have the transmit frequency in the main VFO and the receive frequency in the sub VFO, and you can only transmit from the sub VFO with this particular rig. Again, you'll notice that the Doppler will change on this eventually, and I'm not sure what's taking so long. Let's flip it back around. And there we go. But now you can see that again, by having it backwards, the Doppler is adjusted, whereas if we go up here the way it should be with the receive frequency in the top main VFO, the Doppler is not adjusted. Also note that on the linear birds that because of this problem, the modes are backwards. because it's the OmniRig is telling it that this is the receive frequency. It's assigned USB, whereas this 145 megahertz frequency is assigned lower sideband, which is obviously backwards from the way it needs to be. So those are the problems I'm having with it, and I'm hoping this video will hopefully make it a little bit clearer, that we can have the epiphany of what needs to be swapped in the OmniRigIni file. It looks to me like whatever we think is the main VFO and what we think is the sub VFO, if we just simply switch those, Bob's your uncle will have the solution. That may be my ignorance and speaking where I don't know what else is involved, but intuitively that seems like what's required here to solve the problem for the 9100. Hope this helps. This is Robert K3RRR QRT.